with these people you build up. They've built Rusev up like he's Umaga or the Great Khali or this indestructible, Bray Wyatt style character, and then they have John Cena like squash him. Not in the end, like right away. Like it's not like Rusev gets over like once or twice and then John Cena prevails in the end and then Rusev has something to hang his hat on. It's like Rusev comes back and he's like, I'm going to beat everybody. First it's John Cena, and then he loses like immediately.
Yeah, I mean, here's my thing with Rusev. I totally agree with you. They're not using him the right way. But here's my thing. John Cena, American flag. I just didn't see that. Flag.
I didn't see it either, but it's still.
Well, here's my thing.
My question is then, what are they doing with Rusev?
I hope, and this is more hoping that we won't know until it obviously happens. But where I would like to see him, I'd like to see him in that U.S. title hunt. That's where I want to see him. I want to see him in that. I do like this whole thing going on. That was great. Chris Jericho came back, and I thought he was going to be gone for longer, but it was cool to see Chris Jericho on SmackDown Live. And then, at the end of the night, you had a new champion. That was cool. I would like to see Rusev back in that area. I would like to see him facing off with the likes of, the Chris Jerichos, Kevin Owens, and AJ Styles. I want to see him, get into that hunt again. That's where I want to see. Whether they do it or not, I don't know, but I think he'd be a good champion there. Or be a good. I think he'd be good there.
I think he should be a main eventer. I think that the WWE botched it because he was supposed to come back at Money in the Bank, but then they just kind of pretended like that never happened. And then John Cena comes back late, so they're like, well, we got to give him against somebody. Let's insert Rusev in there. And then you insert Rusev in there, and then he loses. So, yeah, I'm very confused, very much like Jarod, that what are you doing with this guy? And they've flirted with his rise in the past. So, for me, I think you had to put him in that main event level, but I don't know how they put him back in there after this latest stunt. I don't know where they go from here.
My thing is, and another one similar to Rusev, well, like not similar to Rusev, but like I said, sorry to kind of go on a different take there, but I'm talking about Rusev. And what are you going to do with him? I just feel like the bad guy needs some sort of momentum, and that was the problem, and that's the problem kind of facing Bray Wyatt right now. He got the win at the last pay-per-view, so that's a positive, but before that, it was like, are you going to have this guy just like be a complete joke and lose to everybody type thing? So it's just Rusev, like I said, it's one thing if this was the first time, but you've done it before. You have him get to everybody before and then lose to John Cena, so at least he had something. But this time he comes right back and loses right away. So it's why pair him with John Cena? Why not pair him with somebody else that you can give him some momentum over? Maybe a face that's not John Cena that you can have him beat, similar to what they're doing with Randy Orton. Randy Orton's a face, Jinder Mahal's the heel, but they keep having, and it's not the end of the world because Randy Orton isn't the ultimate face. Randy Orton isn't John Cena. Randy Orton isn't this super lovable character.
So would you put him in something like Shinsuke Nakamura? Maybe in that category. Shinsuke, he's way over right now. He's the fans. He's definitely a big face.
I might put him in? I might put him in a package or a story with Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, but Ziggler's a heel right now.
When Ziggler's not a heel, and which is most of his career. When Ziggler's not right now,
I like him. I like Ziggler as a heel,
and he's kind of a heel. So I don't want to say that he's
kind of disappeared too. He wasn't even on the card for the pay-per-view, so I don't know what's going on there.
But kind of essentially like a Dolph Ziggler style face, where that he can beat him, but he's not. You're not putting him over John Cena. Like, I get that you're not going to put him over John Cena.
We knew that. I think that was the most predictable match on the card, to be honest with you. Speaking of predictable, how about we go to unpredictable? I know we talked on the show last week, Paul, we missed your take on it. But Natalya?
Yeah,
I did not see that coming.
I felt like this was something Jarod would predict. He's talked about this before in terms of someone who's been around for a long time. And, it's probably about time she finally gets that push, she gets that championship run, and kind of see how the WWE Universe reacts to it. So, yeah, it was definitely a wild card for sure. But when you look at the cast of crew and characters and then you kind of factor in who it could have been against who it will be, and then also Carmella having the Money in the Bank, I think this is perfect. I think it's a fresh rivalry in terms of having some old versus new, and they kind of played around with that on SmackDown Live. It's not Gen X millennial, but you kind of get the riff of what they're trying to go with. So I'm completely cool with finally giving Natalya the push in the championship conversation. And how I kind of foresee it is Natalya winning, and then at some point Carmella cashing it in and getting it. It could be as quickly as the same night or soon thereafter. So I'm completely okay with it. It was surprising, but when you really think about it critically, I don't think it was that surprising.
Now let me ask you this. I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, where Carmella could cash in, fairly quick. I mean, I'm just kind of thinking of it off the cuff now, but I mean that Natalya Naomi thing, I could see something happen where Natalya, she wins that match, she gets the title, and then right then and there Carmella cashes. I mean, do you think that's too perplexed? I think it'd be great.
See that happening.
What do you think, Jared?
I do. The thing is, for me, is I was very surprised at Natalya, just because it's not surprise in the sense that I don't think she deserves it or anything like that. It's surprise in the sense that they just kept overlooking her time and well, too many times. So why they choose now to finally not overlook her, it was just force of habit. We were just all expected.
I thought Charlotte had it. I mean, Paul, I picked Charlotte. I know that's your girl.
Charlotte
I thought Charlotte had it.
I was actually listening to the pay-per-view more than I was watching it because I was in a car. And, I mean, talk about current events. That just boggles my mind if I think about this in 1999 of, driving a car while I have a pay-per-view on my dashboard while I'm listening to it. Back in the day, I mean, if you bought a pay-per-view, it was a much bigger extravaganza. If you were even going to be late to the pay-per-view, you're like, oh, forget it. I'm not going to spend $40 if I'm even going to miss the first match. Now I'm watching it like I'm catching up on a podcast or something like that. It's off in the background. I don't need to have, before it was like you had multiple people over and it was a party. Now it's like, I'm going to listen to some sports talk radio and then flip over and the pay-per-view's on and I'll just like kind of listen to it in my ear. And while listening to it, I felt like I'm looking over a few times that Charlotte did have it. I thought Charlotte had it, not just had it, but had it on Natalya.
Yeah, I thought she had it. And to your point, I do want to say this to our listeners out there. Always make sure to listen to our podcast right before each pay-per-view. We're always going to be previewing that, of course. So at Heel to the Face, always make sure you
and after
check
this week,
it out.
Most likely wrong predictions. So
yeah,
right. Yeah, I mean, hey, you know what? I think Charlotte. I thought Charlotte had it. I didn't think Tamina. I didn't think Lana. Honestly, we talked last week, and Paul, you missed us, but I think we said, if I go back correctly, I think Paul, I think Natalya, Natalya, Lana, and Tamina. I think we wrote them off completely last week on the show. So when I saw that, I was like, or when that happened, I'm like, wow, that was out of left field. But I'm curious to see how this fresh blood works. I mean, it should be interesting. I thought maybe Becky Lynch might sneak in there, but anybody but Charlotte, I was kind of surprised. But Natalya, I'll take it. What do you think? What do you think overall, Paul?
Yeah, I'm going to go with, I'm calling it now, and we will forever call it from this point forward, the Jinder Mahal effect. And now every time we see a pay-per-view match, I'm like, okay, I think I know what's going to happen. The WWE is telling me what I think I should think is going to happen, but the Jinder Mahal factor makes me think that I thought that I really think I have no idea what's going to happen. So I'm always trying to think of who's going to be the spade, who's going to be the black sheep, who could really twist things up in WWE like tricks us. And I thought that looking at that final quartet, or the final match of all the people involved, they flirted with Lana, so I felt like that wasn't going to happen. Tamina, maybe some Jinder Mahal factor, but I thought a greater chance, again, was Natalya making that push finally, because you thought Tamina maybe they could go with the Machizo. She would make sense, kind of like a wild card kind of pick. But Natalya had the there behind her that you thought with the Hart family and everything. And especially, like I said, I don't want to bite off more than I could chew, look too far into the future, but I think that Natalya can continue playing her entire deck of cards that if she beats a Naomi at the pay-per-view, wins the belt, immediately loses it to Carmella, she could just say, the Hart Foundation gets screwed again, the Canadian screw job. I just feel like you can keep feeding that. And in terms of her just winning most recently, I definitely saw that as the wild card and the one I thought that could happen the most that would really shake things up.
Yeah, I agree. I'm good with you on that. Now, let me ask you this. I don't know about you guys, but I'm already super excited for next week's SmackDown with the card we got coming up here. And I'm looking at, you got Shinsuke versus Cena. You got the rematch of Styles and KO on, for the championship. I'm pretty excited for next week's SmackDown. I think, I'm and not to get too far ahead, but I mean, we're a few days away, and I'm already amped up for that. I think that's like a pay-per-view on USA Network. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it as well. I'm curious a lot of times these pay-per-views exactly though how much they do deliver. They try to sell them like that, but they don't always end up being like that.
I can't wait to see that Shinsuke Cena thing. I think that's going to be really good. I mean,
I feel though that it's going to be Cena.
You think so?
I feel it's going to be Cena. I know that they're advertising a few matches. More importantly, that Jinder Mahal took on John Cena the other night after SmackDown went off the air in a dark match. I just feel...
You think they're setting that up, you think?
They just give Cena way too much. And, that's why people think Cena sucks. Nobody thinks Cena sucks. They think that they just get so...
He walks in, he gets a push. You know what I mean? I mean, yes, he's a megastar. I understand that. But he, walks in... I love that Daniel Bryan's like, well, no, you're actually going to earn it. You're going to face Shinsuke, and, the winner of that, you guys, whoever wins that, then you guys can decide if you're going to face, the winner of that will face Jinder Mahal. I'm good with how Daniel Bryan reacted to that. I just don't like the fact that John Cena just walks in now because he's a 16-time champion and then expects, his next match to be a title match. I'm kind of over that.
Yeah, but that's what they just keep doing, and it is annoying.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to touch on quickly is, and there's really not much to touch on, but the Fatal 4-Way now at SummerSlam for the Universal Championship. Now, we all knew it was coming, but are we all good with it?
100%. I think I was talking to either you, Jarod, or Brandon about it, and if all this UFC stuff, and I know, Jarod, you're a big UFC guy, and also Brandon, if all this Brock Lesnar leaving in the near future is true, I'd much rather it, again, not be a Brock Lesnar, Bill Goldberg, WrestleMania situation where we know what's going to happen. Like, when you have three other competitors involved, and especially the strength, and we were all arguing which one of those guys is going to be, and it ends up being all of them at SummerSlam. I think it's good. It really sells the fight in terms of having a lot of names, a lot of different possibilities and matchups within the matchup. But really, I think that, to me, was the key, as opposed to seeing Brock Lesnar one-on-one with either a Joe, a Reigns, or even Strowman. Even though Strowman, I really like the possibility of that one-on-one. I just think that it makes a lot of sense. I think it makes a lot of sense on 4 billion different levels to have three other opponents in that match at SummerSlam. So there's no easy way out, and who knows if Lesnar's truly going to leave. But with all the rumor mill stuff, it's out there.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. We all kind of saw it coming anyways, this Fatal 4-Way thing. I mean, it was already kind of previous knowledge. So when Kurt Angle was like, well, I changed my mind again. We already knew what the match was going to be. I just can't wait to, get the popcorn ready and enjoy it. I think it's going to be, that Fatal 4-Way is going to be one hell of a match.
Yeah, no, I think at the same time too, I'm in favor of this Fatal 4-Way. And again, it's one of those that gives you a chance so that when Brock Lesnar loses, he doesn't have to lose clean by himself. I mean, that's really that's really what this is all about. And, and I'm fine. It should be interesting. And I'm very interested to see what Brock Lesnar looks like not in a one-on-one match. We haven't seen that before. Again, like I mentioned last week, I don't know if we've seen it not just in his current, run with WWE, but even in the past, outside of a few tag team matches here and there, we've never really seen him involved in, like 6-man ladder matches or any of that stuff. So this should be interesting. And SummerSlam, so far, one good match is coming. And we'll see. Hopefully they add more to this card that's worthy of making it one of these WrestleManias of the summer. Well, when we return, we're going to get to our 3 count. That's our 3 questions of the week as you're listening to the Heel to the Face podcast on Sports War Radio, Rat Pack Radio, and now on iTunes.
The New York Jets are rising and are ready to compete in the AFC. Boyd Green and Ty Butler will give you everything you need to know about the Jets every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. From reviewing the previous game and looking ahead to the next matchup, to all of the news and 4 downs, the Jet Zone has everything. Follow @BoydGreen25 and @TyDButler on Twitter. Proud member of Sports War Radio. Let the battle begin.